All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Adem Bria. I just want to welcome our new members, James and Marie. We'll do some goals later on, so we'll kind of go around the table, but I figured we'll jump in first to our presentation. So I'm going to call the meeting to order now. It's 6:40 p.m. on September 2nd, 2025. I'm going to go over some ground rules for tonight's meeting. Number one, no one may speak until granted the floor. Two, CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. To raise your hand through Zoom, click the participants icon and you will find the raise hand function there. Members should not engage in a back and forth discussion. The chair will recognize the next person to speak. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. All right, with that, Angel, can you take the roll, please?
Committee members, when I call your name, please answer present. Adem Brija.
Present.
Marie Charles.
Present.
David Giordano.
Present.
James Gray.
Present.
John Green. Christina Johnson.
I'm here. Thank you.
Wilfredo Lopez.
Here.
Jessica Morris.
Here.
Beverly Pavon.
Present.
Dawn Sanders. Loretta So.
Yeah.
Candy Vivas Vasquez.
Yeah.
And Jason Wu. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the adoption of this month's agenda. So if I don't see any objections, then we will adopt the agenda for this month's meeting. Okay, seeing no objections, then the agenda for this month's meeting has been adopted. We'll now move on to the approval of meeting minutes. This will be for May and June, so I don't see anybody that's opposed to the meeting minutes. They'll be approved for May and June. All right, seeing no objections, then the minutes for those meetings have been adopted. Do we have any announcements? I don't have any. Does anyone have any announcements or informational updates? Okay, so before we jump into the presentations, I think Angel told all the presenters that we're going to keep it to 10 minutes, and for us, 3 questions. So, and I mean 3, and I mean 10. If you have more questions, you can send them to me, and I will forward them to the presenters. To the presenters, present however you'd like, but my suggestion is if you have PowerPoints, we can always share those. So if there's things that are not on those PowerPoints that you want to say, I'd emphasize you saying that. But again, there's always a time to present additional information, even if it's not. Okay, and then before we do that, I'm gonna give our board chair, Xavier Santiago, the floor for a minute. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Dem. And I just wanted to welcome everyone. I just literally flew back from across the pond. Boy, my arms are tired. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Anyway, I just wanted to welcome everyone. I hope you had a restful and restorative summer. It has been nonstop. I was glad to see so many of members out there at family days and other events. And I appreciate everyone's efforts. I just want to welcome our new members. Please jump in and ask as many questions as you can do, obviously with a limit during the committee meeting, but please provide them even after the fact, because that's helpful. You know, it actually will help us guide the dialogue and the conversation. So I just want to welcome everyone and let you kick everything off in a proper fashion, and then we'll see you at full board. So thank you, Dem, and have a great meeting.
Thank you. All right, so with that said, we will move on to the first presentation for tonight. It's an informational presentation. It's for the proposed supportive housing at 2162 3rd Avenue. Christina Byrne from St. Francis Friends of the Poor will be presenting. So Christina, the floor is yours. Do you have a power? It is? Okay. Yeah, I did look at it. So
Yeah, Angel has it.
Angel and if you want to stay there, you want to stand there, whatever you're comfortable with. It's up to you.
How about if I sit over this way?
That works too. Yep.
The clock started.
It'll start, I'm not gonna be, but yeah, let's say it starts now.
Alright. So, hi, my name is Christina Byrne. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
I am the Executive Director at St. Francis Friends of the Poor, and I have a crew of people here with me who will be available to answer any questions if you have them. We are here today to introduce ourselves as a future new neighbor, and as a future neighbor, we wanted to make sure that you guys knew who we were. We wanted the opportunity to meet you. We want to engage you guys in this process of developing supportive housing for the community so that we can make sure that we're meeting not only the needs of the people that we're serving, but the needs of the larger community. And there's no better way to do that than right from the get-go. So, do you want me to hit the little button? Oh, look at that. Okay, good. So we're here. This building has not been built yet. In fact, we don't even own the property yet. So this is early on, but we're just letting you guys know. So St. Francis Friends of the Poor, if you're familiar with permanent supportive housing, we are the originators in all of New York City, and arguably the country. So we are founded by 3 Franciscan friars back in the late 70s. And what they did is they saw the deinstitutionalization movement of people who lived with serious mental illness. They were discharged back to the city. They were kind of given their one Social Security check and a room in a hotel called an SRO, single room occupancy, and then they were left to fend for themselves. And so these 3 Franciscan friars lived right next to one of these buildings, the Aberdeen in Midtown, and started going in and serving them informally. And then the Aberdeen got bought out by like some rich guy that turned it into like a high-end hotel. And they were like, oh great, so these people are homeless again. This is ridiculous, how are they gonna get healthy? So they went and raised money and they opened up the first permanent supportive housing building in New York City in Midtown on East 24th Street. And they started a movement that is now considered the best practice for serving people that live with mental illness and who have experienced homelessness. So everything that you see around the city is because of the work that they did. Now, in the early 80s, they opened up 2 more buildings. So we have 3 permanent supportive housing buildings that we support in Midtown. And for 40 years, they focused on getting their model perfect. And what I will say, much like James, we were talking about before the meeting, that as the originator, we went out and taught all of the other people throughout the city on how to do this. But you know the game telephone, like the more you teach it, the further away it gets and the model gets changed a little bit? Well, that's not us. Like we stay true to the original model, and I think you'll see the success of that model because we're very proud of it. And you're gonna see that too as you go and bring your model out to the world. So that's St. Francis Friends of the Poor. So we want to extend to a 4th building, affectionately called St. Francis Residence 4. And we have identified a property at 2162 3rd Avenue. So I'm just going to show you this right here. The average length of tenancy for someone living in permanent supportive housing in New York City is 7.5 years. Ours is 18 years. The life expectancy of someone living with serious mental illness who has experienced homelessness is between 45 and 52. The average age of our tenants is 68 years old. And in fact, 75% of our tenants are now over the age of 55. So we are helping people stay healthy and housed. And that is what our model is. So yeah, and we do these services for less than $40,000 a year. If they're living on the streets, going in and out of jail, going in and out of psych hospitals or nursing homes, it's $175,000 a year. So we're saving money and doing the right thing. And again, James, that's what you just said, right? Like you're saving the taxpayers money because of all the people that you're working. So everything you said really resonated with us. So our philosophy is to strengthen, stabilize communities, honor the deep cultural, artistic, and historic roots of the neighborhood. Chelsea, which is where the fathers opened it up. Well, back in the 1970s, Chelsea was very similar to East Harlem, right? So we are part of investing in that neighborhood, and that's what we want to do here as well. So 2162 3rd Avenue. This is 118th and 3rd Avenue. It's a 4-story building that's right next to the Silverman School of Social Work. We will purchase that property, we will demolish that building, and we will build a 14-story building that will have 180 units. 60% of them will be supportive housing, so that's 108 units. And then the other 72 units will be affordable housing. We'll have studios and 1-bedrooms, and there's the financing, and like I said, it's early. So we're hoping to purchase this property by the end of the year, and then in 2031 is when we would hope to open it. So those are pictures of what the building could look like. Again, this is super early, so these are just renderings of what we're envisioning. But our architect is here today, and she is available to answer any questions if you guys have those. This is all the architecture. You guys have that. I don't need to read this to you. This is also in your floor plan. What I'll just say with with this is that one of the hallmark programs of St. Francis Friends of the Poor is our art program, helping people grow and stay healthy through art. So we'll have an art studio in all 3 of our current residences. We will have an art studio in this residence as well. And we're targeting it to be in that front corner so that it can be part of the community, so people can see in the art studio, see out. But everything else, we will also have a multi-purpose community room with a warming kitchen on the first floor. And then there's also going to be an atrium community room on the roof as well. So otherwise it's an apartment building. I will say though that our architects are experienced in trauma-informed design. So working with people who have been homeless and experienced serious mental illness, there's a lot of trauma in their lives. People that are looking for affordable housing have likely had a lot of trauma in their lives. So we are working with them because they specialize in trauma-informed design. All right, so there's all that. The community space, these are the amenities. There'll be a little open air courtyard, the atrium. There'll be on-site social services, just like we have in our 3 current buildings. We provide on-site medical, on-site psychiatric, social services, case management, help with money, help with medications, all the things that help our tenants stay healthy and safe. This building has a community facility. So there will be 10,000 square feet of rental space. And we really want to work with you guys to help figure out what would best fit in that space. Like, what does this community need? How can we partner together to find someone who's going to rent that's going to meet our mission and our values as well as those of the community. So that would be on the first floor and the second floor, 10,000 square feet. So these are the people that we support. All of the art on these photos are photos of our tenants' art, and these are photos of our tenants. We've got releases from them. So just to let you know, permanent supported housing, blah blah blah. We've gone through this. All right, I'm trying to do it. This is how much it's all going to cost, the rent. So it's all going to be 100% affordable housing. Again, you guys will have this in the PowerPoint. Angel has it. So you can see what the rent is and the income for the families and all that fun stuff. The impact that we want to have on the community is that we're bringing in housing stability. 18 years is, that's pretty stable. People will have leases. So this is not transient housing. It's not temporary. This is permanent housing. Makes our streets safer, reduces emergency room use. We're talking about a tenant that before she came to live with us, she had multiple hospitalizations every year for 10 years. She's living with us for 13 years now. She hasn't had a hospitalization once in those 13 years. So reduced emergency services, we bring, an economic boost to the community. We'll bring jobs, both the construction jobs and the long-term jobs. So you can see that we want to be and will be a member of the community where we're integrating all aspects of our services. Get to know us. Love for you guys to come visit us at any of our 3 current residences. We do tours often. We'd love to have you guys there. Come see what we do, talk to our staff, talk to our tenants. You can look us up online. If you do look us up online, you'll see that we are currently recruiting board members. And so we would love to have a board member from the community that we are moving into. Hint, 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 if anyone's interested. Yeah, we are hoping that this is going to be the first of many conversations. This is just us introducing ourselves to you, but we've got a couple of years to get to know each other and figure out how we can work together. Did I do it?
You did great. Yeah. All right. So first of all, thank you so much. And I definitely think we'll coordinate. I think I'd like to take you up on a tour of one of your properties, and maybe we could schedule something that works for the most committee members possible.
We would love
Within
that.
your schedule too.
Yeah.
All right. So 3 questions. Candy, Will, and I guess we'll see if there's a third one. All right, Beverly. All right. So Candy, go
It's
ahead.
very brief. Can you put back the table of the income for the apartments?
The rent?
Yeah, the rent. The
Right,
rent
this
units,
side right
yeah.
here? Okay.
So are they gonna be subsidized because if you're getting people who are supportive and have, they're gonna be on a fixed income.
Right.
I don't think that I know of clients receiving at least 1925,
Mhm.
cover the rent.
Right.
So how are you gonna work with that?
So I'm gonna try to answer this question, and then I'm gonna defer to one of my colleagues who will have, I'm a social worker, they are business people, so. So it's 100% affordable, which means that the building is subsidized for the rent, correct? So the people that are living in supportive housing, just like the people that we have in our current building, they all live off of SSI. So $902 or $82 or something like that. So they don't pay any more than 30% of their income. And that'll be the same thing for the affordable units here. People will have to income qualify, so they can't have more than a certain income. And then they will be expected to pay 30% of their income towards the rent, right? And then the rest is subsidized. And this is Katie Devine. She is our development consultant. Again, social worker, business person.
Hi, as Christina said, so the supportive units, you guys have heard of ESHI and 1515, so the supportive housing units will be either ESHI or 1515. The affordable units, Christina is right, the folks will income qualify. Right now, we're underwriting that those of the affordable units will all be 60% of AMI. And so the way that is set up to work is that the rents are set so that somebody who makes 60% area median income, that 1312 or that 1648 is 30% of their income, right? And so that's how that income certification works. Obviously, folks who have tenant base, Section 8, city FEPs, more than able to qualify for the building if they came up in the lottery.
Thank you. Will?
In terms of the open commercial space, what you're looking for, do you have a plan in order to get community input, like have visioning sessions or anything like that in mind? I know there have been other organizations that have done that. It's been very effective in terms of getting the best feedback possible. So is that something that's in the works that you're considering?
So we don't even own the property yet, but yes, that is exactly why we're here, so that we can get that feedback and say what works best for you guys. How do you think we're gonna get the best information? So if these listening sessions and whatnot are it, then 100%.
And if I could just put a quick pitch in there,
Uh-huh.
there's a desperate need for community art space that is low cost and accessible to the community. You throw a rock in any direction in East Harlem, you're gonna hit 15 artists. in every kind of media that you can imagine,
Mhm.
but there isn't enough art space available for folks that is
Affordable.
affordable. There's plenty of art space, it's not affordable for the
So, I
majority.
mean, while this is affordable housing, we still need to be able to underwrite, we still need to be able to operate the building. So the rents, I don't know what the rents are gonna be yet. Katie, do you know what we're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, and this is just the reality of how the underwriting is gonna work, is that when we get that far along in with the process with HPD, they're gonna ask us for an appraisal that shows what the market rent is for a community facility space, and then that's what they're going to make us underwrite. That's just how these deals work. I would say though, I mean, obviously a community art center, like.
Oh my God, I would
It's the
freak
greatest
out
thing
if
ever.
we could have a community art center, that'd
Yeah,
be amazing.
And, we've already had conversations about, different, identifying different community arts groups that we could talk to. There are plenty of, funding sources available for that kind of project. And so it may just be looking for, city council expense budget money to support
To help
that part of the
subsidize.
project rather than, so those are absolutely things that we can consider. It's just about, it's finding the right fit of a tenant and also one that can pay the rent, knowing that it may need to be subsidized at the city in some way.
And I can also speak up to tell you that I'm the architect of Kimberly Murphy, and before we even started finding these sites, St. Francis retained our office and we did listening sessions through all of the stakeholders that are associated with St. Francis, including residents, staff, porters, the board members. We went through a whole year.
The whole summer,
Basically.
yeah.
It was basically a year of collecting input. And after that, then we engaged in finding the right property. So it's very much in the nature of St. Francis to listen first, then act. So we definitely have talked about
What firm are you
ESKW
with? Okay, all right.
So what I also have them all here. So we do not have the general contractor yet. That won't happen until we own the property. But these are the people that we're inviting to submit RFPs. And then I have my other development partners here. So Rockabelle, Katie is with Rockabelle, Kimberly is with ESKW. We don't have our legal counsel here. We did not think that was gonna be a legal meeting. And the environmental consultants, we're just letting you guys know because that's often something that community boards are interested in. So those are, and you can always reach out to me to, with any of those other questions. And
Okay, thank you. Beverly?
Hi, my question is regarding the trauma-informed design. Please, I've never heard that term before, so please, I would really like to know more about that type of.
Oh, sure. I don't think we have enough time to go all the way into it, but, some of it's common sense, right? But then it's also, what have we learned over the years? So my office has been doing affordable supportive housing for 50 years, before I was alive. And what we've learned over time, and we've done homeless shelters, affordable housing, supportive housing, all different kinds of projects. And we've learned over time what works. We go back, we learn from our previous projects, and then we go and we've looked at other projects to see what really works. There's a whole world of study about spaces that are restorative and that are supportive and give people dignity and feel like they have a real place to grow and stabilize and flourish. A lot of this has to do with wellness, exposure to daylight, natural materials, a healthy building. There are many elements that go into it.
Safety, lines of sight for safety.
Materiality, access to nature, just feeling safe and secure in your home. And this is something that every group, every sort of subgroup has a different sort of interest. But what we're learning a lot, especially with residents who might be neurodivergent, understanding what's next, seeing in a space, what's around the corner and having so it's really kind of understanding people who might have had trauma in their lives, what can really give them the biggest root and their connection.
All right. Well, I want to thank you all so much. I'm sorry that I kept everything so brief, but I do appreciate you coming so early in the process. I think sometimes people come way too late, so it's nice to see this. I think this can be an ongoing dialogue. When you feel like you have something else that you want to come before this committee, we'd be happy to have you and just kind of keep us in the loop. And we can also keep this kind of as an ongoing discussion amongst this committee as well. And if, just so we don't bombard you from too many angles, if there are more questions we have, you think about something later you want to know about, just email it to me and I'll forward it and then I can get the responses. That way we just keep everything, like that.
That's fine.
And then otherwise, again, thank you so much. We have a couple more presentations. You're welcome to stay, but you can also go home if you want, all right? Thank you very
And
much.
if, just out of curiosity, would anyone want us to stay to ask questions afterwards? Because we're happy to do that if that's something that you would like.
I mean, if you want, but like I said, to make it easier, I can always send it to you. We appreciate you being here, but we don't want to
Okay.
keep you
All
that
right,
long, all right?
I get it. We'll leave you guys. I am gonna leave you guys with little folders of some of the information
go
in
ahead.
there, so, we appreciate your time, thank you very
Wait,
much.
you know what? We have one more question, so I'm gonna.
Because you're all here, and thank you very
Sorry
much.
for that.
And, hearing you say, that, I think I heard you say you want to understand what makes East Harlem a unique place that would kind of, be reflected in, your model, in, number 4. How do you intend to do that? I mean, you're here, that's a good first step, but I think, there are other organizations, neighbors who exist, who have done similar things, who, also, they've done a good job as well. So how, do you have a plan? And I know that's a lot of work, both for kind of, from the social work side, but also then incorporating it into the, physical space, how you plan it and sort of implement it and then operate it. But how do you intend to get to know, and will that mean that our residents have a preference of any sort, or is that to be worked out with HPD and how you come up with funding streams and mechanisms for leasing out?
So I think you have 2 different questions there. I'll answer one and I'll probably send the other one over to Katie. But we have a full community engagement plan that we're working with Pitt Bishop, and we have a representative from them here. So we put together a whole community engagement plan that starts with this, but we've also got about 2 pages of all of the other social service, arts organizations in the area, and then we're already cross-referencing, like, who do we already have relationships with so that we can start connecting with them. So just kind of, CUCS is deeply embedded in this neighborhood. They are, one of our board members, founding board member, is the wife of the executive director who had been there, Tony Hennigan, for 20 some odd years. So through CUCS, Gretchen Buchenholz is the executive director and founder of the Association to Benefit Children. They're all through East Harlem with children's mental health services. And then the Silberman School of Social Work. We've got lots of staff that work for us that have graduated from Silberman. Linda Flores is one of them. She is our community engagement and outreach staff person. She is also a Community Board 11 resident. So it's first by tapping into the people that we know so that they can help introduce us to other community members and use that network to get out there and get to know people. So yeah. And then the second part of your question was about preferences. And I will say this, and then Katie will come in and temper it. But the law says that you can't have community preferences. My understanding is that you can figure out how to have community preferences, but what you need to do is engage the community board. We've already talked with Councilmember Ayala. So, it will need your advocacy to go to HPD to say, we want set-asides for this community. Is that fair, or are you gonna correct me?
Right on.
So it's preference for the regular units, for the regular affordable units,
Yes.
but not for the supportive units.
Well, it's.
I think we could figure.
Or the supportive, you have to like, kind of like,
Well, no,
get
no,
creative.
so the supportive units
Uh,
and the lottery units, they both go through like highly regimented processes with the city. The supportive units, I have come to understand from other clients of mine and partners that I have, that those supportive units are actually, can be easier
Yeah.
to get, your local preference folks, because you can get your referrals directly from CUCS, other organizations in the neighborhood, things like that.
Agreed.
As far as the Housing Connect, the lottery units go, that's where you have to, I mean, this is what we said to the council member when we spoke to her a couple of weeks ago, was, HPD says that you can't do a local preference, but we all know projects that have had a local preference, right? And so if there's community pressure for a local preference, you can do it. And this is a project that will absolutely,
And what else?
they will want,
What I'll say is the Friars, and we do have Father Jim Gannon, who is with us today. He is a board member. He is also a friar at 31st Street. And our founding friars, two of whom are no longer with us, recently passed, but they were all about bucking the system. Like that is what they existed for. They're like, this is the right thing to do, and we're gonna do it. So when they retired and I was hired to take over the organization, they turned around and they said, you just do it. That's the right thing, then you just do it. And I said, Father, I don't have a collar. He's like, I'll go to jail for you. But at any rate, like that is the philosophy and the culture, that if it's the right thing to do, we're gonna figure out a way to do it.
Father, she said 31st Street and Franciscan, so I have to ask you, do you know Brother Tim Jones?
Tim Jones.
Oh.
No.
He was on 31st Street and he was a.
Father
That's
Gannon
that's how I
just
got here.
moved there a couple
Okay.
years ago.
Ask about Brother Tim Jones, that was
the
my.
Father Tom would know.
Yeah, so yeah, the friars, every 3 years, you guys get reassigned, so they don't get to set down roots
Except Tom
anywhere.
Walters, he was there 50.
Except for the 3 founding fathers of this organization, because they were like, no, we're not going.
Yeah.
So they bucked their own system. Father Tim Jones? Brother Tim Jones. Okay, well, I'll ask Father Tom, because he is our historian.
Yeah, they were rebellious.
Right?
Flock.
Good year.
Yeah. So we'll figure it out.
So that was high school, so that was in 1852. But, so I went to St. Agnes High School down in the Midtown, and then he got transferred a bunch of places. He was at Queen of Martyrs here, Queen of Angels here, and then he went up to 31st Street. I remember being there and getting reprimanded at 31st Street. That's why I was like, oh, 31st Street. Talking about Trump.
All right.
Anything else?
It works.
No,
All right.
thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
How does Diana feel about that?
I know, I was actually wanting,
Okay,
because you guys are doing the
Yeah,
rest of
I
it.
know,
Is that,
That's-
no?
because I knew from previous.
That should tell you what, how she goes on.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna move to our next presentation. It's an informational presentation regarding proposed crisis residential support center at 420 East 117th Street. The presentation is gonna be from Charles Race. If I said it wrong, please correct me, and he's from Townhome Health. I'm assuming. Okay.
Yeah, it's been pronounced every kind of way. It's all good. We probably changed it a few times on our way over here. So really quickly, there are 2 crisis respites in Manhattan right now. One is in Gramercy, the other one is in the East Village for people on Medicaid. But there's none in this community. And so if you are from this community and you want to go to a crisis respite, you have to get on a wait list either downtown or in Riverdale or in Brooklyn. So we are hoping to open one here. We found a suitable location, but we're open to discussing relocation to a different location if that's preferable to the community board. You'll see here our team in the background, and I can go into a little bit more about what these facilities look. Our team quickly here. And it's for a 12 to 14 bed crisis respite, which is a place for someone to go when they're dealing with a mental health or stress-based crisis, usually due to some sort of loss, like a death in the family. And we're going to be staffed full-time with community peers and social workers. So we're talking about 22 additional community jobs. And the whole goal here is to address social determinants of health and build resiliency in the community. As you can see, it looks and feels like a home. And we have here therapy, group therapy, art therapy, and meditation on site. It's based in the peer movement. And these jobs are like senior peers make 55 to 60K a year with 3 weeks of vacation and full benefits. And our facility in Brooklyn, which we've been running for some time, is full and creating many positive ripples in the community. We have a long list of thank you letters, and our positivity score is above 90%. So basically, it's a much better place to be than being sent to an emergency department or an inpatient program, because it's for people who are non-violent and non-dangerous to themselves or others, and non-substance. So really, you don't need to be sent to an ED to deal with that kind of a crisis. I'm keeping it very short and sweet today. So that's what we're trying to do, and the location is 420 East 117th.
You have plenty of time, so if there's more you want to share, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty simple facilities. It looks and feels like a home. There's not going to be any renovations. We're going to just do a long-term lease, so we're not kicking out the current owners. And we're going to employ locally and spend money locally to help our neighbors when they have a mental health crisis.
I have a lot of questions with that one.
Okay, I'm gonna ask a question. I won't count this towards the total questions. Maybe you answered this. Why, first of all, why that location?
Well, there's if you look at a map of where the facilities are in New York, there's like a gap right here in this district. So in
within this district, why that location within this district?
It fits the needs for the facility. It fits like the fire and safety needs. It already has a great sprinkler system with the proper like flow. It's fairly close, like pretty close to that grocery store, and pretty close to public transportation.
Okay.
There aren't like a ton of locations across the city that would fit perfectly, right? And so like the square footage matches up, like the necessary room size that they have to be both comfortable but be able to serve the most amount of people, so it's efficient, and for it to be a sustainable project.
This
Because
is
it
between
serves
First
Medicaid.
and right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there. Okay, Beverly?
Yes, piggybacking off Dennis' question of why there, are you still looking for any other locations within this community? And the second question was, your crisis center is for people who are nonviolent and no substance abuse or substance use. Where would these people come from in order to be able to use your facility?
Yeah, I mean, so It's first come, first served. So you can self-refer, or you can be working with like your physician, and you let them know, hey, like looks like I'm experiencing a crisis, and they'll say, oh, here's a good place for you to go. We work with like the Community Act team. We are partners with New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation, and Be Heard 911. So if there's anybody in the area who, if I'm sure you're familiar with like, the new Be Heard teams, we actually take directly from those teams that are in the community as well. So there's a couple of different ways that you can get in. Sorry, the first question you had.
Were you looking for other locations, or you dead set on this location and 117th Street? And how long would people be able to stay at your facility?
Yeah, so it's 28 days to stay. And we have found that this is a good location, and that's why we reached out to start like the Padavan process. But if if the community board says that this is a non-suitable location, we'll work together to find one that's more suitable to both parties. We have not signed the lease yet. We've come to you before like making any sort of. All right, go ahead.
Well, Candy, Will, Jessica.
So I have at least two.
Yeah, it's okay. It was a short presentation. So
Okay, so one, so you say you don't have the lease yet, right? So you already found this location, and how many apartments you giving out to these people, to the residents?
It's going to be a 12 bed.
12 beds?
So it's like 12 individual, like 12 like 90 to 100 square foot rooms.
But is everyone is in one room, or you're splitting up? It's 12 rooms.
12 individual rooms. Everyone has their own bed. There's 4 bathrooms shared among the 12 people. One large family kitchen where we do group cooking. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, well, okay, but what are the levels of, when you say nonviolent, because it all depends on the person individually, on the nonviolent, on the mental health. So do you have a social service on a site? The second thing is that, okay, so what are the ages?
It's 18 plus.
18 plus, and someone is gonna be there 24 hours?
24 hours. And we have licensed clinical social workers and peer counselors, as well as a medical director who's a psychologist and another medical director who's a psychiatrist.
And these are paid staff that are gonna be on site?
Yes.
Anyone from the neighborhood? I mean, I'm just trying to
Everyone
figure
should be
out.
from the neighborhood. Yeah.
So you scouted this area, and I don't know if you're aware of the diversity that is there, and I'm trying to not discriminate anyone, because I'm, we're dealing even with youth who are having mental health challenges that are nonviolent, and there aren't any beds, literally no beds for no youth around here at all. And 28 days, I'd like to know what type of services will you be giving these individuals that are gonna need some services that are nonviolent, besides them self-referring themselves and the medical, but what type of services and what type of mental challenges are you dealing with?
Yeah, so there's a couple different layers to that. So we have on-site peer and group therapy. We also we are scaffolding for all social determinants of health and mental health care. So that means if they have a current physician, maybe there's something happened where they're not going anymore, or they're on medication, maybe it's too much or too little. We help to scaffold that, working with local facilities like Health and Hospitals Corporation, to change those, to get them the new doctor, to address all the social determinants of health, which include mental health care. Sorry, the other question you had was, you made a point about youth being super necessary. I mean, I very much agree. We are actively looking at trying to do a youth focus center. There's a lot of difficulty in youth. We don't have experience with youth yet. We do with the 18 plus population, which to loop that, to lump that all into one group is naive. Of course, we see a lot of like there's a difference between 18 to 21-year-old male that there is with, you know, the 65 plus community. But we have to take everybody from the community under that roof and provide care to all of them, which is why we always have a 3-to-1 ratio of staff who are awake and doing their job 24/7. So it's like a very small class size where we're able to really affect change.
And they're all males.
No, this is not all males. This is for anybody.
All right, Will, then Jessica.
So very quickly, I'm just gonna ask very fast questions. So when you're talking about the peer advocates, how many of them will be hired from the community? And how many how many
All of them,
spots?
hopefully.
Okay, how many?
We'll have
how many-
20 peers to
So-
hire, and hopefully all from the community.
Okay, in terms of the groups, are these meeting weekly, monthly? Like how often are they meeting?
Yeah, so there's group therapy twice a week, 3 times a week, depending on like the programming for that week. There's one-on-one peer therapy every day. It's at most, 12 people really in a house with 3 or 4 physicians at one time, or clinicians or peers. So really small class size.
And then just to clarify, the folks that are staying here, they're not necessarily unhoused. These can be folks who are just dealing with a severe mental health crisis, an acute mental health crisis even, and are referred there from their primary care physician or some other medical professional.
Yeah, that's correct. What it is, it's like a preventatory measure, like an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? So while someone can be continuing to go to their job, but come to us at night because like that trigger situation is happening at night at home because that person is dead and there's all these reminders of them at home. For example, that's just one example. I mean, it really, this is a cross section, right? Yeah, and so we prevent homelessness, we prevent job loss. We prevented the spiral from becoming too severe that it becomes acute and unavoidable SMI at all times. That's the goal.
And just very quickly, how is this funded? Is it Medicare, Medicaid, or is it
Medicaid.
self-pay?
Yeah, it's Medicaid. We are trying to get Medicare to cover it as well. That's an effort right now. So we're basically just paying for Medicare people ourselves. But yeah, it's Medicaid funded. So it is a sustainable operation that shouldn't be a drag on the community. Should actually be, $100,000 a year of grocery spending. Plumbers, other locals.
In some ways, it sounds kind of wild, but I spent some time at an ashram, which is a bunch of people who don't know each other who come together because that's the time when there's a need, and you figure out how to make that supportive environment work for you. And it's so just my question is, this is allowable because of the, how is this, as far as use, allowable in the neighborhood? Is it because of, the zoning changes that allow for different types of uses now in residential neighborhoods, or how does it classify as a use in the neighborhood?
Yeah. It's use group for community facility for up to 14 people who are mentally disabled. So it's its own special little claw out.
Classification, that's great. And then I think you answered this question, but the people who are really fortunate to find this space when it's needed, I imagine that's probably a good thing. They aren't required to stay there. They can come and go as they need, maintain other outside life and work responsibilities, whether it's school or so this is really just a place. And are there requirements for them to your residents to be there? Any certain amount of time, because it is, I imagine there can be a high need if it is a model that works well in any one community, if the pipelines are well utilized.
Yeah. I mean, there is a curfew at night. So you're expected to be back before 10. And um, I'm trying to think about like the essence of your question there.
So is there sort of a minimum utilization that, your
It's
residents
100%
need to?
voluntary. Um, it's 100% voluntary, but they are expected to like go with programming. And if they're not, there's kind of like you're put on like a little bit of a pip after a couple of days if you're like not joining the programming. Is this really for you? There's someone else who needs it because there's always a wait list, which is something that you alluded to. That's kind of the problem, right? Is city council wanted there to be like 10 more of these, and we're trying, but it's moving slowly because we're just not getting the licensing going. It just takes a long time for them to issue, all the approvals. So yes, uh, if if you're not going to use it and you're no longer in an acute crisis state, then you do not be required to stay any longer. That'll be a meeting that goes on with like the director of the facility and the lead social worker and the lead peer that's working with them directly, and like a decision that everyone kind of makes together.
One more.
Yeah, who is your oversight? Who kind of?
The Office of Mental Health and the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene.
Okay, Beverly?
Yes, my question is, you said that the residents stay there for 28 days. Do you have a out, situation that help them if they need to go further with another facility?
Yes, we try to
What was
place
this?
people with, uh, not everybody who comes in has housing insecurity, but if that is what is happening, then we do work very diligently, our social work team in particular, to try to place them with supporting housing at some point within that 28 days. And so we work with an octopus of community and outpatient facilities to accomplish both the medical and the drug side, and as well as um, housing. We actually employ, in order to become a peer, you have to have shared experience. So we actually employ about 5% of the people who come in as peers. That's where the peers come from. Um, so it's meant to be this virtuous cycle where people are coming in, seeing the hope of someone having a job, helping other people, and then some actually becoming that person.
Okay, thank you so very much.
I'm gonna ask one last question. Maybe this was already said, but is there a time frame which you're looking for this to happen?
Yeah, we are hoping to open winter, so like Q1 of 2026.
Okay. All right then. Thank you very much for presenting. And like I said to the previous presenters, if we have any questions that come up afterwards, feel free to send them to me, and I have your contact information. I will forward them to you. All right. So we'll be in touch, and I think we'll keep this dialogue going. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
All right. We are going to move to our third presentation and our last one. It's from, and again, I think, yeah. You want to say your name so I don't butcher it?
Yeah, no, I want to see how you butcher it. I'm kidding.
All right.
Marion Cardiwell
I was
from
gonna-
Synergia. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
It's like your channel. So I do have a PowerPoint presentation. It's on a flash drive. Is it cool if we try to access that? Okay, and then I have just several handouts that include all our programs. On the first page, on the second page, we're doing a webinar. We're doing a webinar for an overview of housing court. Thank you. And then the final document that is going to be a neighborhood preservation program that we're operating. And we're working in collaboration with the East Harlem Community Partnership. So it's just like a QR code. Oh yeah, feel free to take a file. Thank you. Okay.
Sharon. Let me share.
And then you do yours. There we go. Oh, sorry. So I can just, hi everyone, thank you so much for, the opportunity to communicate. I've attended some community board housing committee meetings. So, I definitely see the value in like having these conversations and just also just like a reminder of like, hey, this is who we are, this is what we do. And also, you know, if there's any like projects that we're thinking of, you know, doing in the community. You know, the goal for us at least is to establish that relationship so that we can have that conversation. So Synergia is a nonprofit that serves people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We offer 10 types of services under different umbrellas. So over here, I have 3 bullet points. OPWDD funded program. So if anyone is familiar with OPWDD, I'm still gonna say what it is, but I'm seeing some head nods. Office of People with Developmental Disabilities. So we offer family support services, direct support services like community habilitation, respite, residential services, where there's, you know, that kind of lifespan services that are provided to the individuals that we serve. The family support services has a number of different programs. I'll let you guys peruse the all-in-one flyer here, and then obviously we have our website. Our Metropolitan Parent Center provides parent training and supports for children on the autism spectrum. They have a lot of different initiatives, online virtual training, after-school program, art program for youth with disabilities that are on the spectrum. This is virtual. We also do, you know, a lot of different events in the community. You know, like we'll have an annual Christmas party and an annual picnic. So those are things that we do, you know, heavily post on our social media to be able to get outreach. And our neighborhood preservation program. So we provide housing counseling for tenants that reside between 98th Street to 126th Street, river to river. So we honestly also engage with a lot of folks outside, and we're, you know, just tracking to see like where folks are coming from. This is a really interesting program because it allows us to do webinars on tenants' rights, on a variety of issues that are related to housing challenges. Whether it be like healthy homes, how to prevent or address mold pest control concerns, how to navigate housing court. So at least like some updates for you guys and for the community. From September until December, we're doing a series with Housing Court Answers. It's gonna be virtual. There's gonna be one in English, one in Spanish. Our first one is on September 17th, and that's gonna be just a general overview of housing court. We all know it could be super overwhelming and it's not the friendliest place to be. So we like to give folks a heads up so that they know, so that they can be the best self-advocates that they can be. So an introduction to the types of housing advocacy supports that we offer. So again, there's 2 funding sources. So now we're just kind of shifting gears into that housing advocacy component. So for OPWDD, we receive state funding. Don't have to have Medicaid or anything like that. As long as you have a person in the home, child, adult, doesn't matter, that is OPWDD eligible, we're able to provide that household with services. And that includes all New York City boroughs. Queens, Staten Island, Brooklyn, Manhattan, I hope I didn't miss any, but the Bronx. There we go, our neighbors. So when it comes to this program, again, our reach is pretty far and wide throughout all of New York City. Our neighborhood preservation program, as I mentioned, 98th Street to 126. Still, we do connect and refer folks to other neighborhood preservation companies like 116 Black Association, as well as, you know, neighbors uptown, downtown, everywhere. Okay, so I talked a little bit here about the eligibility and then the requirements. A little bit repetitive, but this is the one that I wanted to get to. So types of services. So I like to break it down into 3 umbrellas. One is tenant assistance. So we help folks navigate things like disrepairs in the apartments that haven't been addressed for quite some time. We talk about warranty of habitability. We introduce ourselves, you know, obviously to the family that's needing that service. We come up with like a case strategy of like, okay, this is the issue. How have you documented? It's pretty hands-on on how we prep them to be able to advocate for themselves. And if necessary, we also intervene, obviously. And then we, you know, with our letterhead, with using tools like Just Fix NYC's, you know, letter of complaint for repairs, we help folks navigate that process to be able to get those repairs, right? And we're talking about situations like, hey, my intercom doesn't work, I have a child with a disability, and I get, 3 times a week I need supplies and they come through delivery. So, we're talking about safety, we're talking about quality of living and all of these things. When it comes to navigating quote unquote affordable housing options, I like to call it navigating low income or subsidized rentals, right? So we provide technical support for folks that are interested in the New York City Housing Connect lottery, but we also don't stop there because we know that the lottery system is a lottery system and it takes a lot of time for applications to get processed. But we like to start at that point to give folks that opportunity to say, hey, listen, this is like a best practice, right? This is where you want it. This is how you're gonna fill out your information. We do the applications with them. These are documents that you'll need, especially for folks that are, English isn't their first language. This is something that we find that there is a need for. We even help with like the eligibility requirements if they're going through that preliminary process of getting selected, uploading the documents, sending them, figuring out why maybe they received this rejection even though documents were submitted. So there's a lot of little areas where we just bridge those gaps in communication or information that's needed. We help folks navigate through re-rentals on New York City Housing Development Corporation, as well as New York Housing Search.gov. Again, just sharing different ways of finding subsidized properties. So yeah, eviction navigation. So this is mostly for folks that either have rent arrears and their concerns before even receiving a rent demand or like any kind of petition from their landlord, and they want to know, how to maybe resolve the situation before it goes to housing court if possible. And if they are in housing court, we let them know what the next steps are of what to expect. Sometimes folks, we've experienced a lot of different situations with families. They either get a predicate notice or just a letter of rent demands, and it's a very aggressive language. We explain to them this is what the landlord has to do to like kind of cover all their, to cross their T's and dot their I's. So, you still have to wait for housing court for that index number, and that's something that is part of that process. So all of that to say that we obviously encourage not to self-evict. We go with folks to housing court depending on the need. We help review stipulations, or we at least let them know if they can't get right to counsel. Hey, listen, this is like the court attorney. They're a neutral party. Ask them questions. They're not there to advocate for you or for the other party, but this is someone that you can ask questions to before signing a stipulation, because there's a lot of folks that do sign a stipulation even though they don't fully agree, or they don't really fully understand, what they're agreeing to. Application for rent arrears. We start with the HRA one-shot deal. We go through charities afterwards. We let folks know best practices in order to present their situation for why they were behind on rent arrears. And that also comes along with providing that technical support, accessing Access HRA, and then also just like connecting afterwards with those local charities and just trying to connect with those services. Subsidy assistance. So there's the rent freeze programs from New York City. We help do the screening, applications for that. We have a lot of folks that, for instance, there's an adult head of household who has an intellectual developmental disability. They're on the lease and they need that technical support to do that renewal, and that's to keep their housing stable. So they know to come to us whenever there's like a Section 8, Section 8 recertification, whether it's for Section 8, if you're a NYCHA tenant, if you're a Section 8 recipient from like NYCHA, HPD, whoever the oversight agency is. And even, obviously if you're a public housing tenant, there's a lot of different supports that we provide with that, because there's, electronic there's a self-service portal, so there's ways that folks can like fill out forms for even reasonable accommodation requests, transfer requests, etc. So the types of intervention, these are just some tools that I like to share with folks. We as I mentioned, we help document the repair concerns, educate tenants on how to communicate the way to get repairs, like for instance, something as simple as like, hey, provide access dates, because this covers you as a tenant, and then it puts the ball in the other party's park, the landlord's park. And we also help with filing HP actions in housing court. It's super tedious documents, and there's also a waiver for folks that are income eligible who are low income, so they don't have to pay the fee. So there's just all these different, forms and processes that we assist with. And this is just some examples about how we assist with navigating income-based rentals. So it's what, I discussed, but I just like having it here just to share an example of that type of intervention we provide. And I've also included landlord-tenant harassment because there's a lot of different resources depending on your type of housing. HPD can be contacted. If your apartment's rent stabilized, we can contact the HPD tenant anti-harassment unit and just try to connect the tenant with that, and also be, if needed, that ongoing communication until the issue is resolved. There's also mediation services that we've had the privilege of connecting with, New York Peace Institute, community mediation services. So having that knowledge, we like to connect folks with that. This is our intake for the neighborhood preservation program. So if you guys can see on this last page here, that really bright yellow flyer. So
We don't have it.
No?
And she
Okay.
said she only had a few, so you can always email it.
That's fine.
We have more, but I have
Okay.
So right here, this is a collaboration, it's just in a different order. But this front page right here has, basically what we've done is that I've held office hours with East Harlem Community Partnership on Fridays. It's by appointment, but we do ongoing communication to make sure that, one, we have a different stream of folks getting the information of how to access our support. And this is also meant to work with folks that reside in the service area. So this is something, it's a Google form, it's an intake form, everyone fills it out, and they get plugged in with an appointment, and they get to meet. They can either meet at our office, depending on their what their preference is. But the idea is to provide that in person, a little bit up, is it north or south? Because we're on 125th physically, and the HCP is on 111. So yeah, so we like to be there in the community and engage. And then this is our intake for OPWDD related services. So we have our own, intake specialists. They connect with a variety number of services that are seen on this front flyer here, the all-in-one flyer. And just a really quick plug again, we have an upcoming webinar from Housing Court Answers on September 17th. It's an overview of housing court process. It's an hour and a half afterwards. After you attend, you get an email that has the PowerPoint slide as well as just links and just a recap of the information session. We also stream on Facebook Live, so that's something that we like to connect folks with who have participated. And then September 18th, we have a Spanish speaking session where it's the same content, it's in Spanish. It's just to see, we're testing this out to do separate dates for English and Spanish, just to see what the turnout is, to see if there's any customizable support that we can address to just a different community. And that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before I get to questions, could you share the link for the webinar with me and Angel?
Yeah,
And then I'll
absolutely.
forward it out to the committee members, whoever's interested in.
Yeah, so I have a bunch of printouts actually, to I didn't know if you guys have a space to leave it in the office, but
Yeah.
here's more.
Of course. All right, do we have questions? All right, so Beverly, Candy, and then let's see if anyone else has.
Thank you for the presentation. My question is, if I heard you right, that when people are applying for housing through the lottery and stuff like that, and they having trouble where the lottery said, well, you got this apartment, then for some reason it's not there no more for them, you would help them with that process?
So can I clarify that? So it's more, what the situation I was talking about, and there's many different situations that come up, but let's say the applicant uploaded all their documents, like there's this action required part, you have a given time frame, upload documents, ID, income, everything.
Right.
And if the marketing agent says, hey, if you see like that the status is rejected, and usually there is a reason. The reason is usually like documents not uploaded, right? So those are like the caveats that we kind of just try to hop in and address. But obviously the lottery is a situation where by that point, that's why we encourage like that strong communication of like, please check your email. Because we have also a short window of time to advocate and to say, hey, no, look, we're gonna email you all these documents. You couldn't access the files, well, it's uploaded on a WeTransfer, so it's condensed. So this way you can download it. So, and there's been a situation recently, for instance, there's a family, a lot of the families that we work with are people that we work with here in Harlem and outside, there's overcrowding, right? In an apartment, people are living with family members. So sometimes, like what I did with one particular participant that's coming to mind is that I was like, let's see the status of your Housing Connect lottery applications. Because, I do hear a lot from people like, I haven't been selected, so I'm like, let's dive in. And we reached out to one of the 2 or 3 of the developments that it said pending for an in-person appointment. And at that point, it was like, okay, well, the documents were submitted, they didn't meet in person, so, a little miscommunication or whatever the situation is. Long story short, there was a unit that became vacant. And they had to go through HPD to repost it, but I was able to advocate and say, hey, listen, like this is the applicant, this is their log number. Can you just like try to do that as quick as possible and then consider this applicant? So, just things like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Andy?
The autism initiative. So can you talk about that? How is it that you're helping the families with that? From what age groups are you starting with up to what's the cap? And what is the initiative, the whole entire services family needs for the autism, because you didn't dive into that much.
Yeah, so the Metropolitan Parent Center is a federally funded program. And our director, Paula Jordan, she is the director of the Metropolitan Parent Center. And through that umbrella, there's a whole network of parent centers, I should say, in New York State. This may be a model that's replicated in other states, but the parent center basically follows a few different models to try to give out some training, right? So an example in the Autism Initiative is there's yearly trainings, virtual free ones, for parents that have to do with, for instance, travel training, right? If you have a child that has difficulty traveling, public transportation or not, they have professionals that come perform the webinar. So guardianship is a big thing, right? For parents, they're preparing for guardianship of a child that is aging into adulthood, and they still need to have that oversight of the child because they cannot comprehend like reading contracts or anything like that. So that's something that's routine. So there's a set of routine virtual webinars from the Autism Initiative. And then in general, there's the Art After School program. That program collaborates with the MoMA. So they do virtual or in person. For that program, there's ages 3 to, I believe, 13. There's a separate program, which is transition to adulthood, which is from ages 14 to 21, right? So it is a whole different network. So if anyone wants to know more about the Autism Initiative, please feel free to email me. I'm happy to direct, because there's a bunch of different initiatives and events that are coming up with them. Our calendar is very up to date with the Metropolitan Parent Center activities. There's rigorous curriculum that has been developed on a state level and a federal level, actually, that all the parent centers incorporate into their training. So for instance, there's an Apple Academy. Apple Academy is meant for parents that can attend this from, I'm not sure of the actual dates coming up, but it's basically for like half a year, and they get to graduate with other parents that are facing, maybe similar challenges of raising their child with disability in a way where they can be independent in the community.
Okay, I thought, because your organization started more working with disabilities, families with disabilities. You're no longer gonna be focusing on that. You're gonna be focusing just on the housing piece.
Myself, yes. So housing committee, housing piece, but that's why I did bring in
Yeah, there's a
the,
human services committee.
yeah. So I mean, again, if there's any particular questions about, because this is a lot of different programs, right? So if there's any particular questions about, for instance, what is family support case management? What is the autism initiative? We'd be happy to cater that.
I think we could, if you're interested in that, I can connect you with the Health and Human Services Chair, and I think it'd be, useful for you to do a presentation there. And then anyone who's interested could either go in person or you're welcome to go on Zoom, when you're not a committee member. So,
Yeah,
but I get it. Housing, but very good questions. All right, we have a little bit more stuff, so I don't want to take too much of your time. It was a really excellent presentation and the most thoughtful answers to questions I've seen. So,
Thank you,
yeah,
thank
so
you.
thank you. Definitely.
Good to see everyone and have a great
And
night.
we'll have you back if you want, so.
Yeah, why not? We're neighbors.
Yeah. Any presentations you want, or I could just we'll have them forwarded to you automatically, all right?
I'll be sure to send that information.
You have a question?
Well, it's kind of, I may have missed it, but the strategy for housing preservation is what?
So so it's through these several services that we provide: tenant assistance, eviction prevention, subsidy assistance. So just under tenant assistance, very broad.
Not preserving the building that has housing in it, but each individual unit and each individual case, you preserve that, that unit of housing.
Right.
Through the services you provide.
Right.
Understood.
Oftentimes, one tenant can have an issue that multiple tenants have. We do refer to building a tenant association. That's not our area of expertise, but it is something that we, are very cognizant of.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you're welcome to stay or go. We got some
Thank you.
a little bit boring stuff. Before we move on, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Chris. I'm a resident in East Harlem.
Okay.
That's about it.
Well, no, we that's what we're here for. So really, that's great. That's important.
I wanted to ask questions, but if we don't have time, it's all good. I can come to another meeting.
I mean, if you want to ask a question,
It's very off topic and it's related to something else. I guess it's like definitely related to housing, but
you want to touch base with me? If you stay, I could talk to you afterwards.
Of course, yeah.
All right, then. All right. So with that said, we're going to move to D, committee goals. Just also a way for us to introduce ourselves quickly since we have new members. I'll start off and just say your name and one goal. If you don't have a goal, no worries. You can email me your goal or think about it. I'll do a goal. So
I was gonna say, do you want to get, because last time we did this,
Yeah.
we were way off topic.
yeah, I'm gonna make. All right, my name's Adem. I'm sure you've all heard me talk too much tonight.
That's my husband.
So I have two goals. First goal is to kind of just build on what we've been doing. We've been doing walkthroughs of the NYCHA housing, still looking for more of an outcome on where that'll go. We've bought in some of like our bigger land, like Hope Community. We've been building a database of violations that properties have and bringing them in and just trying to understand what they're doing to correct those. I'd like to build on that. And then a new goal I have is something because it's kind of come back on the table, which is it had been paused because of COVID, but tax lien sales for delinquent water bills and property taxes. We have a lot of smaller landlords in this community, elderly people who own the property they live in. I think people aren't aware that foreclosures also affect the renting tenants that live in those properties. When it's a transition to new ownership, utilities can be shut off. They're not sure what the standing of their lease is. They don't have the information where to pay their rent, et cetera. I think this is a fundamentally flawed program. These liens are basically sold. People sometimes don't even know they have a lien against them. It's not like you really get something in the mail. If you own, especially if your property's under a corporation, they'll send it to like wherever that corporation is. I've seen people literally not know their house was for, and the problem isn't always that it's too big of a bill. It's This thing can literally end up in the Bronx at the foreclosure court. It could be over $5,000 and you didn't even know that that was happening. And then the other weird part of it all is that they all get sold to, like, what is it, the Bank of New York? They just, it's like a monopoly. I don't understand how that possibly happens, but, so it's just something to look into. It was on a freeze for a while and they just started again this year. They do send out on the Department of Finance every year. There's like a 30-day, a 10-day notice. But a lot of people aren't aware that you can go on and look at that. And then usually it's a little bit late in the game for people. So I just want us to kind of examine that, look into it. Like I said, we focus sometimes, and it's not saying it's wrong, but we focus a lot on the tenants and how we can assist them as we should. But like I said, we have a lot of smaller landlords in this neighborhood, and this is one of those things that touches on tenants and landlords. I just think it's, especially with it being re-implemented, I think that's another thing. People don't even know that it's been re-implemented. So those are my goals. With that said, Candy, and then we'll just work around this way.
Hi, everyone.
I said your name already.
Candy Vasquez. The same thing with what you were just saying, but also you need to add in that the Department of Water.
Right, it's water bills too.
Not only just the water bills, but they check in your pipes, say that you have lead, and then they make you pay to fix your pipe. You're responsible for that. And if people are not paying their rent, where's that money gonna come from? Because the banks are not gonna give you that home equity loan if they know that you have a problem. So those are things that we need to also help out the landlords as well, besides tenants, because it affects everybody. But also, can we follow up on the housing lotteries within our neighborhood that are being selected, making sure that we're receiving our preference, community preference? I don't know what St. Francis was talking about, that there are no community preference. I don't know who she spoke to on HPD, but as far as I know,
The law passed. It was struck down by the Supreme Court.
Right, but it's no law. I know that it's not gonna be at the 50%, but still, there's gonna be some percentage.
It's struck down by the Supreme Court, so there's,
No more community.
you can't have.
No more, right? That's what I thought, yeah.
As of when?
I want to say about a year and a half. Now, HPD may not have updated
They still,
its.
right, because on the.
Okay, in the sake of what Will said, we're not gonna deliberate every goal. We're gonna do that at
So
some
we're
point.
gonna then get back.
So
to
I got,
HPD,
okay.
Because even as a building owner, you can also request to have some,
We
make
could get,
exceptions.
we could get somebody from
At the
HPD
preference
in
level.
here,
Yeah.
and then we could kind of
Yeah,
bombard
to
them.
get that out.
Yeah, we
Yes.
definitely could.
To put
We've
that-
been trying to get a meeting with HPD for God knows how long, right? That's gotta happen. I made myself wildly available, just so everybody knows.
I'll address that.
Okay, we'll get that on the books, and once we do that, then we'll get them in here, okay?
Can we all, because I would be interested.
Oh, we'll bring them here, and we can ask them whatever we want. They work for us. Okay, Jessica, I'm saying all your names and then asking you to say them again, but I kind of have.
We're on the records, right? My name is Jessica Morris. Last year, I can't believe it was already last year that we did this, because it seems like it was just like last month. But I remember I brought way too many half-baked goals to the table, but I just got one this year, and it's the same one that I brought up last year. It may fall between housing and land use, but I think engaging health and hospitals to consider their plans for their land that they have to develop supportive housing. They have a Housing for Health program that in other boroughs, they build housing right near their facilities so that when there are people in high need who are being served by the hospital, instead of sending them back to whatever non-place they may have come from, they find their way to housing, and they're close to there's models for it. There's the sanitation operations that are happening. There's ECF that's happening. It's proximity to the 96th Street entrance to the Esplanade, which is parkland. It is underutilized. Right now it's parking. And I think we know that projects take a long time, but unless we say that we want this here, there's a school right nearby, Innovation High School, and not to mention, Quab Tech is right there. There are more schools. I mean, it's, unless we nudge in some way, there's too much to think about in kind of that very intentional workforce of a public hospital for them to take that on themselves. If we start to engage in a dialogue with their community advisory board and inquire, their public hospitals, each campus is taking on a master planning initiative in some sort of order, known to whom, I don't know. But none of the campuses had master plans before COVID. They realized how important it was to know what to do with their assets. So each one is working for a master plan. So if we start to ask these questions, and they start to say, yeah, we have this program, we have this land, like, why not? Unless we ask, it's not gonna be. So I think to engagement dialogue, to move in the direction of housing around metropolitan.
Okay, so we can have them come in and we can ask them questions. I do agree with you that it could be a land use thing, but there's nothing stopping us from bringing them in first, and then I could always
Get the
talk.
real estate department.
Right, but we can at least talk about what we want to see there and, whatever, and then the land use component, I mean, that's obviously out of our hands, but we are all board members, so we still have a say on that too. Loretta?
Good evening. My name is Loretta Stowe, resident of Jackie Robinson, who is currently under the PAC project. So one of my goals or concern is to follow that process and be able to present that to the housing committee, how that whole process is going. Yes, because right now, we made the conversion from NYCHA to PAC. And just from what I was reading in regards to money, just wondering if that's really gonna happen, if they have to have billions of dollars and the way things are going now, will that process happen, will it be completed?
Okay. And we did have Ascendant give us kind of the overview of what they're doing, so we can stay on top. I actually was writing our minutes and it all kind of came back into my head, so.
Can I ask, would it be appropriate to sort of invite Loretta in every 3 months or so to just kind of
give us yeah, if you want. Sure.
Yeah.
And we still have to, and I don't know how much that's gonna do, but we still have to, I know you've been interested in setting up a walkthrough there. So we'll put something on the books and then whoever can make it. I mean, I'll try to do weekends. I feel like that works. I mean, whatever works for you, but we'll find a time that works for most members. Beverly?
Hi, my name is Beverly Pavone. I live in a building that's under tenant interim lease program that we're still fighting to try to get home ownership. I believe that home ownership in this community is slacking and it needs to be a kickstart again. So my goals is to help whatever I can in getting home ownership on the table for new projects and new developments, even if it has to be for buildings that's already here, that just laying there, not doing anything. So homeownership is a key for me. Affordable home ownership to the residents in this community at the incomes that they have. I'm also like to support the increase of affordable housing. More than the 20% that's usually here under the MIH and any of the other programs that they have. I believe that this community is very rich with potential, and most of the buildings that I think that are coming up or will come up, unless it's a nonprofit, will be market to higher rents than we can afford. So having a foot and developing more affordable housing that's income-based for the communities that's really struggling within this community is something I am looking forward to working with this community and committee to bring to fruition.
Thank you, and we'll get that meeting eventually.
Yeah, we're working on that. Actually,
Yeah.
I spoke to somebody at HPD earlier today. They're looking to do something in October.
Okay.
Trying to push it in October.
I'm free anytime, and just, we'll see what Angel, when the
Yes.
office is available, and when he can do it, all right?
Okay, I'll keep you posted.
Thank you.
We did discuss that today.
Thank you. James?
Hey everyone, my name is James C.B. Gray. I live in Tiny Towers, not too far from here. And I used to be the board chair of the housing committee for the National Action Network for years. And we dealt with a lot of trauma, especially involving elderly and homelessness. People losing their apartment units and becoming homeless. And I started doing a lot of research along the process to see how we can combat this issue. That's why I think this synergy of organizations doing a lot of work. I used to be in the housing court every day, just trying to help people understand how this situation works. A lot of the times, by the time I'm talking to people, they've signed a stipulation that doesn't allow them to even compete or fight for themselves anymore. So I started a program where we were, advocating for people to come to us as soon as possible. As soon as you get that eviction notice, come right to us. We even had a whole rallies at the National Action Network promoting this. If you got eviction notice, come see us immediately, because time is of the essence, and the more education and understanding you have, the better you can deal with the situation. So, that's one of my big things. One of my goals is to help as many people get the proper education they need to fight to keep their units as possible. Because once you lose that unit, HRA has to work overtime just to keep you from falling through the cracks. And the expenses is actually double by that time. So, trying to keep people from slipping through the cracks and conserving resources to help others.
Thank you. It's great to have you on. David?
Hi, David Giordano. I guess when I look back last year, I was learning a lot more, learning about the PAC and the RAD and all these things that are changing public housing. And what I learned is I don't know anything and need to still learn more. And it's very, suspicious sometimes when we change things that had a good intention originally, but didn't meet its goal, and now we're gonna provide something different.
It's always like that. Yeah.
But I think like Beverly, my parents were pretty fortunate. They bought a Mitchell-Lama co-op in the 60s for $3,000, and it was a way to have ownership, affordable ownership in the community which you live in. I would love to see more of those kind of programs. And one of the things that always scared me, there used to be a map up here that showed every building that had a subsidy, but that would be losing it really in this time of now, in the 2010s and 2020s. And East Harlem is just gonna be a way of losing its subsidies. So how do we maintain and allow people to invest in that community through home ownership? So
And so you have group like ours, because we're also neighborhood preservation.
Yes.
We build, but we also try to preserve, keep affordability.
Yeah. Oh no, we know how good y'all do over there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I just want to advocate to where, and I have a loud mouth when I use it, so.
Yeah. So we could use this loud mouth now on this committee.
We have been. The board's
been
using it for years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well.
Will Lopez. I am proud to be on this committee. I am, I'm back to practicing law full time. So I hope to help bring some of that expertise as I expand my legal practice to help learn more about the different legal issues that interconnect with preserving and creating true tenancy that makes sense for this community. Goal top of that is to also be a resource for this, for this committee, and also to help bring in more of the questions that are impacting local residents. So I've been getting questions about the tax implications of co-ops, why they tax at a higher rate than single-family homes. These are things that don't always kind of, play into what we're doing because, out of the people in this table, we have very few homeowners, so, they're not, those questions aren't coming up. But it's important to understand because, especially when we want to move into more home ownership opportunities, how is that going to impact your residency and tenancy going forward? So just kind of, be a sounding board for that, and be a resource as best I can for this committee.
Thank you. Marie?
Hi, yes, I'm Marie Charles. I am in finance. I work in the community. And I've come across quite a few of my clients who come in to, I'm a tax specialist, so I'm very much aware.
Everybody needs a tax specialist.
So, yes. So I've had many clients who have housing issues and they're coming in because they want me to draft something or, so I've become, I would say, maybe have a big heart in terms of not just sitting here and talking, but action as well too. Since I'm very new, that's why I'm doing more listening than talking and taking notes. So yeah, so one of the things that you have mentioned is complaints with housing and how you would like to tackle these situations. That's so important for me as well too. I would like to get involved in that. And I'm not really sure how we work with our local politicians here when we want to make decisions. So I'm not really sure about that, but I think it would be great to get them involved a little bit more. I'm not sure if they are, but that's just
Yes.
some, okay. So I might be quiet, but when it comes to getting stuff done,
That's
in terms
important.
of getting them involved, so I'm very big on that. I was a beauty queen. I was Miss New York in 2022. Yes, thank you. Wow. And so that's one of my platforms. I went to Miss USA. I was a state finalist, and I didn't make it, but that is also my platform. Housing, and I have a big heart for people with special needs. I have a sister with special needs who has Down syndrome that I'm very involved in her life. I know Synergia, they do amazing work in the community. They do a lot of work with people with special needs. And so policy influence, I don't know how we how can we be a strong voice in shaping city housing policies? I'm not really sure. That would be good. Push for, I wrote some things here, tenant protection and advocacy, and maybe have a forum where the residents can come together. I don't know how it can be done.
It's been done, things like that.
If it's been done before, but yeah. So I think that's something that it should be done, not just like once every 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna circle back to something because I forgot. So all these were informational presentations today, but besides the last one, the other two are, things that are gonna happen that I think we should take positions on. And when we do, those positions we take do go to our electeds. The second one, that's why I asked, when are they planning to do that? And that's relatively quickly. It's our practice to not obviously take positions the night that we hear something, but I definitely think that one we should take a position on. I don't know if that gets it to happen or stops it from happening, depending on what position we take. But I think that it is important that we do. And then for the first one, the supportive housing, that clearly has a much longer timeline.
It's a 9-year timeline.
Right, but we can start to shape how we'd want to see that. Just, they seem open to that, but just because they present something doesn't mean that we have to accept it as it's presented to us. We have the ability to kind of shape it ourselves, or at least be like, this is our community, this is what we'd like to see. I mean, supportive housing on both sides of the fence, as we've seen, has become very contentious. There's the idea, that obviously a lot of it is needed, but is too much of it just being concentrated in this community. We had Tambale Terrace recently, I believe on 97th and 3rd, which is part of this community. They're building the 3rd biggest supportive housing in the country. These are just things to consider. I just want to preface this in my opinion, and I think this is where we get caught up. It's not like, I don't think anybody's against supportive housing in this community board. I think if there is a back and forth, it's the idea of, is it the fair share thing, right? And that's not the only thing.
97 and 3rd is New York State.
Well, I think it is, because the governor, right, but my point being that it's still in this community.
And to that point too, if I can just add to this, there are different types of supportive housing. It's an all-encompassing term, and it's about the mix.
Well, that's true, but what I heard presented tonight,
It's more-
sounds like what we've
we
been,
have.
right, exactly, right. And,
Yeah.
it's funny you say that, because I think we talked about, and we'll briefly touch on our district needs,
Yeah.
which was like domestic,
Violence.
right, and we don't
Right,
hear any
that's
supportive
supportive.
housing for that.
Right.
We actually just lost the ability to have some come in. There was an issue with HPD, and we lost about 150 units that were slated to perhaps come in.
Previous home.
But they
Yeah.
consider them as homeless. They won't say.
No, they put them in
domestic
homeless shelters,
violence.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
they
they
go to
have to-
HRA, like domestic violence
Sure.
shelters, and from there, it was, to put them in permanent housing and stuff like that. It falls through the cracks. It didn't even get to the point where they could come and present, because stuff like that just falls through the cracks. So it's important to make that distinction when we're talking about supportive housing. The fact that it is, yeah, and we should maybe, and I don't know if this is within the ken of the committee, but track what we have currently
And what
what's
we need.
needed.
Well, I definitely think, and we could shape it, so you put it better than I did, which is, it could not only just be, do we want it or not, but what kind do we want,
What do we need?
or what's underserved.
Yeah.
And then I will,
Also, I would just add that maybe we should, also reach out to Isaac, right? Because again, many of these are also run by, nonprofits and other
Yeah.
organizations.
But not really. Also, it depends. But the thing is that HPD throws in the 15-15. That's money that helps bridge the gap of funding. So when you don't have enough funding sources, HPD is gonna say, well, we got that 15-15 with the caveat that you then have to get people with special, supportive housing.
A special category.
But, sometimes they'll just say, we want you to take some mentally ill, chronically mentally ill. That becomes, not that you don't wanna give apartments to people with mentally ill into a multifamily, but then you have to think about the risk factors of everyone you have within that housing scope, right? And then when you already put in that proposal and you're getting that money, then you have that gap. This is where we all, to me, I find that it kind of pits the community against each other because, not stating that the reason why they, saying that it's gonna have supportive housing, we have to ask what type of source of funding are they getting for the housing? Because then that will help you understand what type of housing we're getting into our community and how we're gonna shape it, and if it's gonna be something that is doable, that it fits right, especially within the whole development, but also within that neighborhood area, that maybe we can cater it somewhere else, that it's not gonna be something for everybody, because it's not a one size fit all. And we had in the time before a moratorium of having supportive housing in our community
Yeah.
because we were oversaturated with too many methadone programs, addictive programs, that it was all kinds. And then
and
it's
not just
hard.
serving our community.
And not only that, it becomes a problem, and especially these group homes that they're doing now, not everybody gets along with one another. So now how do you have different individuals with different mental instability, because I'm trying to choose the right word not to offend anybody, but I could have I probably suffer from schizophrenia, but you don't, and then we're lumped in together. I'm gonna start thinking, you're doing something to me. Now, here's where the fight is, but we have to share the bathroom, we have to share the kitchen, we have to share all the common spaces, and you're my roommate. It's a problem, and they do that, and not for nothing, they're doing it for the money, not because of anything else. So if we're gonna support anybody, we have to start asking what type of funding sources are they getting into that project.
What's embedded in what you're talking about is the model of housing and services.
So you could better understand when we're gonna support something, that we're not trying to say we don't want people, because I have family that have special needs in different levels. And I have a lot of, I have autism, adult and youth. So we need to, right, and there aren't any homes, for that, and they need to have that. But we're talking about the mental health and the mentally challenged.
To be more thoughtful about how they
Yes,
do
and then
it.
don't be just a developer just because you wanna build a building, because I don't mind developing, but the thing is that I like to also be conscious. I can't put this in my apartment, in the building I already got, and then here comes 1515 because I have a gap. That's the caveat, that's the only way you're gonna give it to me.
St. Francis, and they brought that up without us even, because that was one of the
Right, well,
questions.
yeah.
And I had to scratch that off, because she mentioned they're being funded by ESHI, which is the state
Right.
funding for this type of supportive housing, and then 1515, which is the city's program.
Right.
So they're pulling both programs together, which is incredibly lucrative.
If you have the manpower and the right people.
All right, we gotta, because we got one more thing after, so I'm gonna go Jessica, James, and then,
That's the conversation we need to talk about.
yeah. So Jessica, James, and then we'll move to our last item for the night.
I want to just kind of tie in, Will, one thing you mentioned, and Candy, kind of what you're getting at, relative to our colleagues in human services and other kind of cross-committee collaboration, that thing. If there's something that's really, not unidimensional, right, that has lots of different parts of challenge, SWOT analysis, right, strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. There's so much knowledge on this board and history in this neighborhood about what has happened, what works systemically, where things get lost, and with our kind of CBO partners, how to, is there something that needs to change or can change that is really hard to change, but that we can start to ask the right questions, like putting a moratorium, or, those are hard policy, sticky things that unless we better understand what they are, we can't start to figure out how to make the tweaks to adjust. So I'm wondering if there's not an opportunity to have some sort of a workshop or something that would allow us to dig into some of that collective knowledge and figure out what are those things that might be good to identify, to figure out who are the partners that we need to be catching the ears of to then. And, I'm sure, everybody around the table has some thoughts. So how do we structure that in an intentional way?
Well, I was actually gonna say, so we all have the ability to move things forward. We're throwing a lot of ideas out here, and I think the onus is that, like, I'm just gonna be honest, not just me, like that the chair's gotta spearhead all these things. And to be honest with you, it's completely overwhelming for anybody, and it's not effective. So I'm just here to kind of organize things and move them along, but I'm one member, like we're all one member, right? So if you want to put a workshop together, if you want to do this, I will help you. I will participate. I will make myself as available as possible. I will continue to move things along that I think need to be done, but you're all welcome. I can say.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Because I think this is, when I chaired human, health and human service and also youth and education, sometimes we got so many things going on here, right? And there's about a limitation that we can do within this time frame with people present.
Of course.
And what do we do else? So I'll just add this. Y'all don't know, but from 1989, even though I work with Children's Aid Continuous from 1980, from 1989 to 2005, I worked for Catholic Charities mental health program, intensive case management. So all the people that we housed, that was my job, was to get them housing or to get them off the streets, out of the hospital, and into stable housing. So I would like to lead something around this, because some is not good and some are good. And we have to be careful that we don't stigmatize the real providers, who are small providers providing a service to this community, where we're stigmatizing people and stereotyping others. Mental illness is a big, and there's a study done that any one time in the United States, 10% of the population is suffering from personality disorder. So if you're looking in this room, right,
Somebody.
it's 1.5, 2 of us that are having issues at the moment. So I want us to be sensitive and not just, that place sounded a little crazy, but let's not pass judgment.
Or just write it off.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's and I will just, and then James.
She actually covered what I was gonna say.
All right. You sure? So I will say this, and I think whenever somebody's reached out to me, I've done my best to answer. But if you have an idea, if there's something that you want to do, you tell me. We can sit, we can talk about how you think that you want it to happen. And then, we have the board's resources. We can use the board as a platform. Like David just said, it is impossible to really do anything meaningful and effective, meeting once a month, right? I mean, that's, we hear these presentations, and I'm happy that, and I want to touch on that, the St. Francis project specifically, it's possible that they don't need to go to land use to do this, right? So it's possible that we can really have more, a lot of these things go to land. Well, a lot of things go to land use, and then, it's like, oh, what does housing do, right?
We're supposed to follow up to make.
Right, well, to the, right, exactly.
They're the sheriff for the deputy.
Not asking for a variance and not asking for any sort of action.
It's not, but if it's HPD funded in some kind of way, those public dollars would require, I think, community boarding, no?
Yeah. But it could be,
But it doesn't have to be
right, it could be
yours.
through us. I meant, we're definitely taking, I'm actually saying we should definitely be taking positions. These are opportunities for this committee to really influence things, not just to follow, which that's another goal, maybe to see what's been approved, what's happening, and what's the follow-up on there.
And fact check when they throw out an elected official's name out stating that they spoke with them, and then we were like, oh, they spoke with them.
Right, no, we gotta find out.
No,
if
we
they-
need to make sure that that elected official. Yeah, exactly, because it was not.
Yeah. So, all right, we're gonna move to district needs and budget, which is, it's actually one of the things we have the most influence on, but it kind of gets overlooked. It's where basically we get to prioritize how we want the city budget based on our community. There's a statement of district needs. Angel, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not an expert on this, but statement of district needs is basically written out about what we need. I looked it over, each committee, not want to say committee, but, each aspect of what this community deals with is kind of laid out. I read it. I don't know how many people here have read it, but it's, it wasn't written by our committee. It was written by district needs. So I feel like, they did the best job they could. If we want to look at it and add any suggestions, we don't have to do it tonight. I think we can review. I think this is how we did it last year. We kind of I kind of gave everybody homework. If you look at the actual expense and capital needs, I'm sorry, did I get that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You'll see that it's relatively, it's the same as last year. It's what we put, it's our rankings that we put. The city agencies give their responses as usual. Some say to bring it to your elected, some say that, they support it, but they don't have the funding. Right? That's a very common one. Or contact the city agency. There are a few that I think, and I can even email them out to you that I saw that it actually might be useful to reword them, maybe to make them more specific. I think sometimes when they're really generalized, it's easy for them to just be like, well, this doesn't apply to us, or, this is not part of what we deal with. Then there are some for the electives. I believe one of them was to install the security cameras in the NYCHA developments. being that we've, made NYCHA walkthroughs and everything important, this is on our thing, so, I haven't always had luck, reaching out to our electeds, with the senior housing exemption that we had, I sent an email out to everybody and I didn't really get anything, like, I don't know, that really just said, this is what we read your resolution, this is what we think, or this is what we do, like, no, and I basically said, just tell me that, and it was like, and like, they all got it, right? I mean, I don't know if they read it, but they got it, so that, all the state electeds, our state senators, our assembly people, so that would be, Serrano, Eddie Gibb, I believe, Cordell Clear, and I'm missing. I emailed, no, Ayala wouldn't be, because the city, I think it was only state for this, because the Department of.
For the state.
State, yeah. Because originally we sent it to the wrong, so we redid it, that's why we because remember, we passed it once and we passed it again. The most response I got is, I don't work at that office anymore, because they have old contacts. There was one answer, but it was one of those where, it was a very simple question, and then they gave me like this, and as I skimmed through, I was like, this is not really what I asked, and I'm not gonna sit here and read this all day. So I've been thinking about, I am gonna follow up and just be like, specific to our resolution, what is this? And then, I don't know what they'll say, but this is worth asking. We'll say we were directly asked to talk to
Are we able to go to their office?
Of course.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I can't speak for everybody.
No, that's fine.
You should be able to walk, they all
Okay.
have office hours.
Yeah.
I'll speak for Diana, I mean, I won't speak for her, but from my experience, you could walk in there anytime you want. Her staff is very friendly. They'll answer any questions. Obviously, some issues are, city, some issues are state. But, you don't have to think about what that is. You just walk in there and be like, this is, and then you could get directed. It's like a resource, so.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
I don't know, is there anything specific tonight on here that anybody wants to talk about? That thinks there's something that's missing, that we could take off, that we think should be re-ranked? So these rankings are within the bigger scope of the actual rank. This is just how we prioritize. So that means ours is 4th out of all the capital needs that we have, right? So these are our 3, 4, 6, and 16, right? And then there's always more expense requests. We have a few that are pretty high up. And I think the rankings make sense. This is what we put last year. The question is, do we want to take anything off? Do we want to add anything? And do we want to re-rank things? And do we want to reword things, right? I guess I would look at it in those 4 ways. Do you think, Angel?
Yeah, but not tonight.
No,
Yeah.
I know, so.
But you forgot number one, what's the deadline?
Oh, did I? No, because that could be, is that maybe a land use request? Number 1 might be land use.
Provide more housing for special needs households.
That's land use, right?
Such as formerly.
That's us? Did we leave it off?
Yeah.
Is that as expensive?
But check this out, but on the list.
No, it is. What? No, that's what I'm saying. We don't have one. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it's all awesome.
The priority one.
Yeah, but those aren't all ours, I don't think. I think you're looking, no, it is.
Yeah, you all have
Yeah, but I gave you this, which is supposed to be looking at.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Just looking at something else.
This is what I got from your email.
Yeah, and then I printed that to make it easier for you, so you're not looking at the whole thing.
That's the whole thing, right?
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing.
This just has the housing.
This just has the
Right,
housing.
but this, the first, number one is
Those
housing.
up the car.
No, but is number 1 a land use thing?
That's a land.
That's a
It's
land use,
capital.
but it's land use,
It's capital land use.
right? It's not ours. It's sometimes confusing.
It's all the boards.
It is, but that's not, we can't really rank that here or change it, right? We can vote on it at a full board, but that is land use decision.
Right, it's still gonna go hand in hand because they're only going for the land, but then once the building is done, it comes to us.
Well, no, and look, you have every right to comment on it. We have things here. I just want to make sure we cover our bases, but I'm not stopping you from putting any recommendations you want in. And I do sit on land use, and Jessica sits on, we all do, right?
Is it not?
Not anymore? All right, I'm sorry. I only spoke for what I know so far.
That's okay,
I didn't mean to
I
say
use
that.
when necessary, I learn and.
Well, you're not on there, but you can go. All right, so Jessica, and then we're gonna wrap it up for the night.
So this is a question and it came up, but I don't think it is a budgetary ask. However, given that we've just stated a bunch of goals and being general advocates, so we all know that the sort of basis of AMI is wrong. Is there, that's, we have ears, they listen to us, and it's not just here that that's a problem. If there is interest, that is a bone I would like to pick generally, that AMI, which is how so much of this is it impacts where you land, how you're kind of classified, what constitutes, who can afford what in a community, is fundamentally the way that it's measured is not right, we know that.
Yes.
But we haven't been able to advocate successfully or vocalize how to suggest that it needs to change. So, if there's anybody else who would be on board with that goal.
I mean, that's always been the hottest topic on this board.
It's hard to change this like all the time. That is hard,
Trying to understand.
Oh, isn't it always true that Westchester or whatever? So it skews us
So
up.
that's why we should be by the.
Well, just the Upper East Side and Upper West Side.
Right, skews us up.
And that's literally like feet from us.
There's gotta be a better way to.
Localized, like they have one that's like models that are done by zip code, they have models that are done by, geographic community area. The problem is New York City, like none of those models
Concentrated.
work here.
Doesn't work,
So you need a model just for New York City and then one for the rest of the country.
We got a lot of those.
Not impossible, not impossible.
Right, but HUD always is the one that always makes those changes every year.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's the one who we have to come after, is federal, not the state.
You all have my number, I think. If you don't, I'll send it out. You'll have my
Send out your
email.
number.
I will. And then anything you're interested in, tell me and we'll work on it. We can work on it offline, whatever, and bring it back here. Angel, could you take the roll, please?
Members, when I call your name, please answer present. Adem Brihan.
Present.
Marie Charles.
Present.
David Giordano.
Present.
James Gray. John Green. Christina Johnson.
Yeah.
Will Lopez.
Here.
Jessica Morris.
Here.
Beverly Pavone.
Present.
Dawn Sanders.
Here.
Loretta So.
Yeah.
Candy Vasquez.
Yeah.
Jason Rule. We have a
All right, thank you, everyone. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
I'm sending you a summary of that decision